Hello, TransByDef. This is Morgan Fay, and this week's topic is trans persons in the military. So I have to start off by saying that I personally have never served in the armed services, so I don't really have the expertise to talk about any specific issues other than the overarching thing of whether or not trans persons should serve in the military. And recently, a document has come out, a study done by an independent group that basically said there's no compelling reason why trans persons should not be allowed to serve. And to that, I have to say, duh. It's anyone who's got an open mind should be able to realize that our status does not make us unfit for service. Men and women both can serve in non-combat units as well as combat units now. And what's between their legs doesn't matter, so what's between our legs shouldn't matter either. This pretty much stems because the military considers any person who's transgender to have a severe psychological disorder. We get this from our lovely psychiatric profession, who has diagnosed us as such for a very long time. Only recently, like last year, have they actually changed it from gender identity disorder to gender dysphoria, so that it removes the stigma and the actual technical diagnosis of it being a disorder to a treatable condition. Because it's not our minds that's the problem, it's our hormones in our body just doesn't match up. So the fact of whether or not people can serve in the military, I don't really see why this should be an issue at all, besides people just being transphobic. Now, one of the things that I am concerned about is that right now military health benefits, if people who were trans were allowed to serve, it would cover them. And while it's better to have one option rather than no options at all, it might become soon where the only option someone has if they're transgender to receive some sort of health coverage is to enter the military, whether or not they are right for the service. So unless the civilian healthcare becomes trans inclusive, this can be an issue where we, a marginalized group, gets almost pressed into service. So that would be my one concern. The only thing I would hope for is that, especially in this day and age after the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and the fact that we are becoming more visible and that we are starting to overcome some of the previous negative stereotypes of us, that as the policy in the military will change, because right now their only stance is, well, we're just not going to do anything about it, and eventually I'm sure that will change. It's the way things have been. It's just sometimes it takes a little while for progress. But as that changes, I hope to see more trans-inclusive health benefits for everyone, so that people don't feel that the military becomes their only option. So I don't really have much to say about this topic, so it's going to be a fairly short video, but I would like to leave on the simple note of, if you are serving in the military, or if you have served in the military, whether you are trans or cis, thank you, because you're out there protecting the freedoms that I do have. And while that might not be perfect or far from perfect, one only needs to look as far as places such as Russia or Uganda to realize that things could be much, much worse for us. So that's about it for this week's topic, and I hope to see you next week here on TransByDef.